So welcome back to my mum's house. We're going to be doing a more cleaning, tidying and sorting at my mum's. And if you are thinking, hang on a minute now, were you not just like at your mum's just a few days ago? Then you are correct. So I had been at my mum's. My mum and stepdad live a couple of hours drive away from me. And I had arranged to go and help them out with some things because I could see that things were starting to get a bit overwhelming, a bit much for my mum. Who is full-time carer for my stepdad, who had a series of strokes over the past few years. So he is now quite disabled. And my mum has arthritis and other she's not an older woman. I would say she's a young mum. She had me and my brother and sister very young. So she is 65, 66 this year. She is a young mum, but she does have really bad arthritis and she is doing an awful lot. So she's doing a lot around the house, a lot around the garden, and a lot of caring for my stepdad. And she does it super well and she's very proud of what she does and she's very loving. But everyone has their limits and she has not asked for help, but I had seen that she could do with some help. So I insisted that I worked from hers, and then I did a few jobs around the house. So that was like a few days before. And then just ahead of a holiday, it was a working day, and I was like, I'm going on holiday. I want to get my nails done. So I was on my way to get my nails done, ready for my holiday, and I looked at my phone. I had a message from my mum, and it said or asked, "Are you working from home today, or are you in London?" And that is all it said, with like no context. Now, as a question, doesn't mean an awful lot, but I know my mum, and I just had this feeling like something is wrong. So I spoke to my mum, and it turns out that she had pulled her back out like really bad. She was in a lot of pain. She couldn't bend very well, and she was really worried about how she was going to do the physical caring tasks for my stepdad. Like, how was she even going to get him, help get him into bed, and everything that she needed to do. He has a catheter, which means, you have to empty it and you have to change it. Once a week, you have to change the bag and change the night bag and all of that stuff. So I insisted that I go and work from hers and help out. But this is going to be different because now we know that some actual caring tasks are needed. And this is rather than I'll come and do a few jobs around the house, this is a bit more important. So I had to pack up my stuff at work, tidy some things up with work, and get in the car and get to her house. So I started this video. Basically, this is the second day of me being at my mum's for this second stint. I did not film anything on the first day that I arrived because that was the day where my mum was in the most amount of pain and we needed to do more caring tasks for my stepdad, personal caring tasks, which obviously we will not be filming. I didn't want to do any filming. I didn't want to be like, listen, you're in a lot of pain. You're in a really rubbish situation. Isn't this not great for you? I'm just going to get my tripod out and film some things. So I waited to see, we got to the point by day 2 and just having the ability to rest a bit more and not putting any additional strain on her back. My mum was able, you could just tell on that second day, she was moving a lot more easily. She was using the kind of Zimmer frame walkers a lot less, and she just seemed to be in a brighter mood. She was still in a lot of pain and still limited in what she could do, but you could tell that the rest had been good. And then I thought, with her permission, and she was absolutely fine with me filming the bits I filmed. There was other stuff I did not film. So I didn't film me making lunch and tidying up from lunch and some other kind of tasks that I did. I didn't film obviously any of the personal care tasks that I helped out with my stepdad. We do not need to see those things. That's absolutely fine. Obviously, no one wants to see those anyway, really. But there were other things that I did. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a flavour of some of the things I did. So I started my day. This is actually before my folks have got up in the morning. I got up early, got myself dressed, and I firstly stripped my bed. I would always strip my bed when I stay at my mum's anyway, but I stripped my bed and I put it into the washing machine because I want to get that hung up on the line. It's a beautiful day. You can already see that sunshine that's streaming in, and there was a breeze. So it was cooler outside, sunny, windy, perfect conditions for drying washing. So I wanted to get that washing dried, which is not something I would normally do. Normally, my mum would do that just during the week. But we don't want her kind of leaning down to the washing machine or anything like that. And she was due to change the bed linen in her bedroom on this day. So I knew I wanted to change that for her, strip her bed get her stuff in the wash, and put new bed linen on. So we have two lots of beds to strip today. So I had got mine in, I had emptied the dishwasher because the dishwasher had been the cause of my mum putting her back out. She had been leaning into the dishwasher when it had gone. And she does have I think this is down to the arthritis, but she's had this issue actually for a long time, since I was a kid. Every now and again, her back would like completely go. And it's always, she says, it's always when you're doing like the silly things that your back goes, but it's not the silly things that make your back go. It's all the things you did in the lead up to that. And she had done a lot of gardening the previous day and a lot of like physical manual work. So I think that just kind of weakened her back. And then it's really that tipping point is the leaning over into the dishwasher, and then the back is like, I've had enough. That is it. You need to rest. So there's lots of lessons that I just wanted to talk about here. And I think that, so when my mum contacted me and admitted that she was really worried about how she was going to do, the physical caring tasks for my stepdad, and she was obviously in a lot of pain and she was very upset. Okay. And so that's all perfectly normal. But then she remembered that I was due to go on holiday. And when, with the distress and the pain and the worry, she had temporarily forgotten that when she had contacted me. And she said to me afterwards, if she'd remembered that I was going on holiday in just a couple of days, she would not have contacted me and told me what had happened to her back. And as I said at the time, like, we could feel really negatively about this. Like, it's a negative thing, don't get me wrong. She was in pain. We don't want that. I'm not going to try and put some like happy spin on it all. But there are ways in which I think you look upon situations, and you can either choose to look upon the situation in an entirely negative way, or you can look at the positives in the situation. Now, previous Nat and me of my like young adult years was very negative. And in fact, I used to go out with my bestie, Caroline, a lot. And whenever we went out, we would just moan. And we got to the point where we were like spiraling in negativity, because negativity just breeds negativity. And it was Caroline that said, do you think we just need to stop being so negative? And it was like a bit of a light bulb moment. I just needed somebody to actually point out the fact that I was being very negative. And then we made like a pact that when we got together, we were not going to talk about anything negative. And gradually over time, we managed to change our attitudes. And whilst I wouldn't say, that was then the, start of a new chapter in my life, I definitely it took years for me to learn to be more positive in general. But now I'm definitely in that position that when I got this news from my mum, I had to, I had to rearrange a few things at work. And then, luckily I had already done a lot of the suitcase packing for the holiday. And I had to jump in the car. My husband had to do a lot more of the ferrying of the kids. And, there was a little bit of a strain. But ultimately, my attitude was very much, thank goodness this happened now and not when I was on holiday and I couldn't help. Like, thank goodness I was able to be there. And like, am I not lucky that I have a job that is flexible and employers who are very understanding and supportive? That means that I can do the work I need to do around providing the support for my family. And, thank goodness that my mum contacted me, because it is so hard for so many of us to actually ask for and accept help. I am guilty of this so often, but it's really brave actually to put your hand up and say, I could do with some help here, and accept it. Because I think that so many of us are not good at accepting help. And if you're wondering what I'm doing now in this part of the video, I am unpacking shopping, and we're getting some prawns out ready for dinner. We were having a big debate on how many prawns did 3 people need in a curry. You won't believe the amount of conversation and discussion that went into that. And my mum was just telling me where to put things, because she knows exactly where everything goes in the freezer. Everything has its place. So I'm putting the shopping away now. My mum was very organized, and the day before, when her back had gone and she realized the pickle that she was going to be in for a while, she did an online food shop so that the food would arrive while I was there, so that I could put it away. She didn't have to do lots of bending into cupboards, and also meant that they have the provisions now that they don't have to leave the house for a while. So mum is doing very well. Look at her walking around, albeit slowly, without the Zimmer frame. We have that just out of shot for when she needs it, getting stuff like loaded up and packed away. So I talked about the kind of negative to positive mindset. And I had to keep saying to my mum and my stepdad, like, about how the situation wasn't as bad in terms of, me being there, them needing me. They were really worried about the fact that I had to come up, and, that they felt like they were really putting me out. But, honestly, it was not that way. I did not at all feel put out. I felt very fortunate that I lived, just a couple of hours drive away instead of like my sister, who is 5 hours drive away, that I had the flexibility to go. I had the physical ability to help, that my mum wasn't in a worse state. She hadn't had to go to hospital, and that we were able between us to do all of the caring tasks that we needed to do, all of the stuff that we needed to do around the house. And, it just really, there was nothing negative about the situation when you actually looked at it like that. Now, I've purposely given you a nice wide view and this particular part of the video so that you can see my mum and stepdad's glorious garden. They have worked so hard. Like, this was just grass when they moved into the house. And I have to say that for someone like me, like, I do love a good garden, but I'm not a gardener. And that is partly the product of having very young children and a busy job and a small postage stamp size garden. So I have some plants. I have some pretty plants in pots, but I do not have flower beds in the middle of grass like my folks do. And my kids absolutely love playing in this garden because it's like so much fun running around all the flower beds, but it is an awful lot of work. Now that my stepdad is so disabled, and my mum does have, that's one thing she does have a garden that comes every 2 to 3 weeks to help her keep on top of it, but there's still a lot to do, hence her being out in the garden a lot before her back went. But yeah, I thought I would show you a little bit of that. Now, who is the silly Billy who packed their bag in a rush and put a grey tank top and a Taylor Swift jumper in their bag for a working from home or day, and did not think about the fact that I had a phone call with a client and a colleague and an MP on, so this is one of my retail clients. We work for interiors and a bunch of retail clients, large retail organizations, and I had a call with an MP about retail violence issues, basically. And I had to borrow a shirt from my mum, but luckily I'm a fairly similar size to my mum where I can fit in her stuff fine. So I was able to borrow a shirt, and you have to laugh, honestly. Taylor Swift jumper would not have gone down well. I mean, I know it's a Teams call and everything, but still, it's not professional to be on a professional call with a Taylor Swift jumper on. So now I'm making up my mum's bed. Let's have the debate: flat sheet or fitted sheet, because I am a fitted sheet all the way, girl. I have no flat sheets. I don't think I have any. Maybe I have one. I have one flat sheet for like if people are poorly and I need to put it on the sofa. But for beds, I have just fitted sheets. I am not very good at putting a flat sheet on. I don't know what my mum will make of this if she scrutinizes it. I'm sure she will laugh. But yeah, I could not. I mean, how do you get the front bit down? I think I just left it so that it wasn't really, and I hope the sheet doesn't come down on them. I think it's okay. And also, what do you do with the corners? It's just such a faff, isn't it? And a fitted sheet is just, I mean, I don't know why people buy flat sheets. Are they better? Do they, I mean, I guess technically they might fit a little bit better, but surely the fitted sheet goes around any mattress, right? I don't know. Anyway, let me know. Do you also iron your bed sheets? I'm always really interested in this because I do not iron my bed sheets, but my mum irons everything. She irons the bed sheets, she irons the tea towels, she irons like my stepdad's pants, she irons everything. I iron nothing. I buy my clothes. When I buy clothes, I look at them and I think, are you the kind of item of clothing I'm going to put in the washing machine and you're going to crinkle up and you're going to take ages to iron because you're not coming home with me? That is what I do. That's my assessment. And if I have the odd item of clothing that requires ironing, then I hang them up with my husband's shirt on a Sunday evening. And when he comes to iron his shirts, he will usually take pity on me and iron whatever I need ironing, which is really only the odd dress in the summer. In the winter months, I don't think I have anything that requires ironing. And I can honestly say that I have never used the current iron. My husband upgraded himself to a steam iron, And he asked me if I minded him like spending the money on this steam iron, and I was like, you go for it. Like, you enjoy yourself as your steam iron. If it makes you happy, you go for it. And I've never used it. I honestly don't know how it works. I'm quite proud of that fact. So I am anti-ironing. I absolutely wouldn't iron bed sheets. Like, I hang them up on the line and then I put them back on the bed, and they're not super crinkled or anything. Again, like, I think if you have like really high quality cotton sheets that don't have a mix of anything, then they get super crinkled. But if your sheets are like good quality, but then they've got a mix of some more synthetic materials, that generally tends to mean that they do not crinkle, and they're the best ones in my opinion. That's when it is actually helpful to have a bit of synthetic material. I got in such a pickle with this bed linen. So I may not iron, but I make plenty of beds. I know what I'm doing when it comes to getting a duvet in. I normally put the corners in at the top and then I just shake it down, and that's fine. But my mum's bedsheet, like, I'm fully in it now. I mean, oh my God. I mean, I basically made myself a tent. But for some reason they were like really staticky, and they were getting like the actual like, duvet cover was getting stuck together so that the duvet wasn't going in properly. And then the duvet was kind of silky as well. So in the end, I just had to get in and shove the corners in the right place for it to actually go in properly. We got there in the end. And actually, because I was recording myself, I could see it took me a full 11 minutes to put the bed sheets on. I don't know if that's good or bad. And you will notice that the pillowcase is already done. And that's a good indication of the fact that my mum was feeling like she was starting to recover, because she can't help herself but help out with tasks. So that was one of them, and she'd gone up and she'd laid the sheet on the bed, ready for it to be put on, and she'd put the pillowcases on because she felt like she could do that, but she couldn't do the duvet and she couldn't tuck the sheet around the mattress. But really, she should have just left the sheets on there and I would have done the whole thing. I was expecting to do it all. I wasn't expecting her to do part of it. But she just, obviously, she feels bad. You could see she feels bad. She's trying to do everything that she can, but really it's not necessary. I think so many of us, we struggle when it comes to accepting help. Now, somebody asked me on a recent video when I asked, any questions, do I have any hobbies? So I would say that YouTube is my hobby, but this is something I painted about, I don't know, 4 years ago. For my folks, it's a picture of the old village that we used to live in. I don't think it's the best painting, but they like it so much that they have it up in their bedroom in the fireplace. So I saw that just when I was finishing up the bedding, and I was like, I will show you some of the things I like to do. I'm very arty, creative. I love to paint, I love to draw, but I don't do it very often anymore, and that's just a time thing. But I'm very creative. I feel like YouTube is a massive creative outlet. I love creating the videos, like thinking of the things that will be most appealing. And like, when I first got into YouTube and making YouTube videos, I didn't actually appreciate the creative side of it. And it was only when I watched a video of another creator who was talking about like how creative like being a YouTuber is, I realized that that's probably why I really love it, because there's that massive creative element. There's the big creative element, and then there's a community, and those two things combined are what, in my opinion, make YouTube really, really awesome. So I would absolutely say that YouTube is currently, like, it's my number one hobby, because it's the thing that I do like every single week. I make YouTube videos. But art, and just anything arty, any kind of painting, any kind of drawing, any kind of like glass painting, or paper mache, or anything crafty, or making something, then I really, really enjoy it. So I was debating whether or not to take some pens and pastels or something away with me on holiday, because quite often that's what I'll do. I'll bring a sketch pad and I'll bring some like charcoals, and I'll just create something while I'm away. But it's really hard to do that with kids. So I'm and arguing, so basically, do I take art supplies or do I take a book to read, which is another thing that I absolutely love. I've always been a bookworm. And at the moment I'm reading like a bunch of just like, I love a self-help book. Either it's kind of some weird and wonderful like fiction, I like vampire stories and stuff like that, or it is a self-help book. So we are on to my final task of the day before I left. So as I said, I did do other things, but I didn't film everything. And partly that was time as well, because it also was a lot of work to do ahead of the holiday. So I was watering the plants. I watered all of the pots out the front as well. There are like 8 or 9 like half barrel whiskey barrel pots with plants in at the front. I'd already done those, and now I'm just finished up. My mum has these plants that she was really hoping to get out in the garden, but she can't do that now. And it was, I really I enjoyed the time with my parents, even though it was in not the best situation. Like, obviously, we don't want to be going up just because somebody is in pain, but needs must. And we turned a bad situation into a positive by really enjoying our time together and just being thankful that we all had that ability to be together and help see mum through the worst of her pain. And now I can feel also that reassurance when I'm away that I've seen her starting to feel better. My sister is going in a few days' time with my nephews, and they're going to mow the lawn and check the tire pressure in her car and do a bunch of other jobs and weeding and stuff around the garden. So she will have some support in just a couple of days, and I have done as much as I possibly can to prepare them for that time, so that they've got, their food in and they're organised, and I've got everything out for breakfast the next day, etc. So hopefully everything will be good. The back will repair, and that my mum is on the mend, and they won't have any more kind of, any relapse or worsening of the situation while I am gone. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and I've tried to give you as much of like a snoop around my mum's garden as I possibly could, because I don't feel like me. Like, I may not be a gardener, but I absolutely love looking at people's gardens and houses and just seeing, how they have things set up and getting some ideas myself as well. So hopefully you have enjoyed that too. Let me know what you would like to see from me next. I will be producing some content for my holiday. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.